this week, we have an update on the tense situations from the South China Sea dispute.
Tension has yet to subside in the South China Sea dispute as the Haisun 31, China's most advanced and largest patrol ship, traveled through the contested waters to arrive in the Southeast Asian port city of Singapore on Sunday. Haisun 31 voyage came a week after Beijing traded saber-rattling rhetorics with Hanoi and Manila over what it saw as intrusions and illegitimate claims over territorial water by the Southeast Asian states. The Chinese government said that the patrol ship was on a normal visit and that the government remained willing to solve the territorial dispute through bilateral negotiation with other claimants in the disputed waters. Under the water around the chain of Spratly Islands, which lie roughly halfway between southern Vietnam and the Philippines' main island of Luzon, are believed to be holding rich deposits of oil and natural gas reserves. China, Vietnam and the Philippines have been handing out oil drilling permits to companies, raising multilateral tension that can be felt on the streets, like this protest in Vietnam held over the weekend in what have become a series of street protests against China allowed by the Vietnamese authority. The Vietnamese government has been under pressure from its own intensely nationalist public to stand up to China, a country which it waged border war with in 1979 and have since clashed occasionally at sea over the Spratlys and Paracel Islands. Hanoi maintained a military base on the Spratlys along with China, the Philippines and Taiwan, and part of the chain of the islands are also claimed by Brunei and Malaysia. The United States has also recently stated that it is a stakeholder in this complicated territorial dispute. Other ASEAN states like Singapore have called for the conclusion of the implementation guidelines for the Declaration of the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea, which has been held up for almost a decade. The South China Sea dispute could become another litmus test for ASEAN's ability to be a mediating force in global affairs.
Myanmar pro-democracy icon Aung San Suu Kyi celebrated her birthday this week as a free woman with her son in Yangon for the first time after years of house arrest.
For her first free birthday in almost a decade, Aung San Suu Kyi met her youngest son, Kim Aris, a British national, at the Yangon International Airport. The 33-year-old Kim Aris had already reunited with his mother last year, soon after Suu Kyi was released from 7 years of house arrest in November. At a National League for Democracy, or NLD, headquarters in Yangon, hundreds of Suu Kyi supporters and well-wishers gathered to wish her the first happy birthday as a free woman. Suu Kyi, who has spent 15 of the past 22 years in some form of detention and struggle against military dictatorship, has become a pro-democracy icon for Myanmar people. She was first detained in 1989, a year after she emerged as a champion of political reform during an unsuccessful student-led democracy uprising. Suu Kyi was released last November, shortly after national elections in the former British colony, also known as Burma, which has been subject to widespread international sanctions since a bloody crackdown on pro-democracy protests in 1988. Suu Kyi's NLD party won a landslide election victory in 1990, only to be denied power by the military, which has ruled the country since 1962. The party, which boycotted last year's election in protest, has no official role, but is expected to play a significant part in any future review of sanctions. However, Suu Kyi vowed to fight for national reconciliation. Meanwhile, Filipino activists marked Suu Kyi's birthday by rallying in front of the Myanmar embassy in Manila to demand the release of political prisoners and ask for genuine democratic change in Myanmar. Protesters wore masks bearing the democracy leader's image, while others were dressed as prisoners and carried fake shackles in a prison cell. A new Myanmar government was put in place in March, months after the country's first elections in 20 years. But activists from the Free Burma Coalition Philippines said authoritarianism prevails and a true democratic transformation has yet to take root. The activists called on the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, to hold the Myanmar government accountable for alleged human rights abuses and to pressure the release of political prisoners. In Thailand, about 100 of Suu Kyi's supporters, including exiled politicians, monks and students, held a ceremony to mark her birthday in Masaw town near the Myanmar border. They wore t-shirts with pictures of Suu Kyi while singing happy birthday to her. Suu Kyi supporters also demanded for the Myanmar government to release about 140 female political prisoners among 2,000 of all political prisoners. Thai news agency reporting for ASEAN TV.
Next up, we recap the refugee situations around the world and in Southeast Asia as the United Nations World Refugee Day was commemorated earlier this week.
According to a UN report released on Monday, 4/5 of the world's 15.4 million refugees are hosted in poor countries where their prospects of citizenships are slim and economic opportunities are limited. More than a quarter of these are in just 3 countries: Pakistan, Iran, and Syria. These figures do not include the latest wave of people displaced by this year's unrest in North Africa and the Middle East, which continues to displace thousands daily. For the ASEAN region, there are over 180,000 refugees, according to a figure from the UNHCR, and most of these are residing in Thailand and Malaysia. Majority of refugees from Southeast Asia comes from Myanmar, with over 400,000 people seeking sanctuary outside the country. Camps like this on the Thai-Burmese border house tens of thousands of people fleeing war and persecution in Myanmar, waiting to be resettled to a third country, and some have waited for decades. On Monday evening, Thai NGOs organized an event at the Foreign Correspondent Club of Thailand in Bangkok to commemorate the World Refugee Day. Among other things, the event marks the official launching of the Refugee Freedom Fund by the Thai Committee for Refugee Foundation. Because Thailand is not a member of the 1951 United Nations Convention to the Status of Refugees, the fund is designed to assist refugees in the kingdom. Thai academics and civil society representatives at the event stressed on the importance of protecting the rights of refugees as they campaign for the kingdom to establish a refugee law in the near future. While Thailand is not a party to the 1951 UN Refugee Convention, it has been complying with many of the convention's basic principles, such as providing refuge, not repatriating refugees, and respecting the rights of those fleeing persecution from their homeland.
We wrap up this week's ASEAN highlights by a story from Thailand, northernmost province of Chiang Rai, as our reporter visited an international university there, which prepares its diverse body of students for the ASEAN regional integration.
It is symbolic for a freshman at Luang University to begin the year with a tribute ceremony for teachers. Whether a Thai or a foreigner, the method is simple, a show of respect in return for a warm welcome. Located on the northernmost route of Thailand, access to the university goes beyond the Thai border here, which is part of a 4-way economic corridor involving China, Laos, Myanmar, and Thailand. Classes here are tailored to the Thai higher education standard, offering not only occupational skills, but also for cross-cultural communication in English and Chinese. Graduates are modeled to excel both in career and life, but in particular, to be prepared for an ASEAN community in 2015.
As a university, we have to do something to build up the competitiveness of our graduates in Thailand in order that they can work in cross-cultural environment and be competent enough to work in different atmosphere, especially in ASEAN countries. So in this case, I think that we have to inject them, with the knowledge about ASEAN first, and then build up their capacity, how to work well, how to be good, and how to communicate, and how to understand the culture and environment of our members in ASEAN. And in terms of manpower, that mobilization of manpower in this area would be enlarged a lot, because the people in Myanmar, in Laos, in Cambodia, in Thailand, in Indonesia, in Malaysia can move around. We can work from here to there a bit more easier than now. So in this case, I think that we have to prepare something to build up the capacity of the people. And I think that, every country thinking the same. So every country in among the ASEAN members, you know, that I think that they are thinking about the same what I thought before. So they got to build up their capacity.
Besides high-quality teaching and instruction, the university is actively forging a common ground for its multicultural campus. An orientation day like one of this is what fills up the gap between Thai and ASEAN students. Apart from the joy of a buddy searching game seen here, is a chance for ASEAN cultures to freely intermingle. Testaments to what can be expected from this university echo for us to hear.
และก็เห็นให้เรารู้ว่าในการศึกษาเป็นในการศึกษาในระบบของแม่ฟ้าหลวงนี่ก็เป็นสิ่งที่ดีเห็นให้เราอยากรู้แล้วก็นางก็เป็นคนหนึ่งที่อยากมาเรียนอยู่แม่ฟ้าหลวงเพื่อจะพัฒนาเพื่อจะเก็บกรรมความรู้ไปพัฒนาที่ประเทศลาวให้มีหลักสูตรที่เข้มแข็งคือแม่ฟ้าหลวง
Really interesting and fun to get international friends who are not the same culture with you, and it is easy to share the culture.
Very good for me if I study here to do research here. I do research here about 5 months.
For me, I want to, not only, to study here, I also want to find some business opportunity.
Founded on September 1998, Mae Fah Luang University is bound to create quality education for all on its huge 8-square-kilometre campus. 12 years from then, the bustling campus today sees over 9,000 students, a growing majority coming from the 10-nation ASEAN bloc. In the next decade, you will certainly find more students here, but the best part of this story is the growing bond between young citizens of ASEAN, which is sure to become fruitful. Bawanpong Watanatanakun of Thai News Agency, reporting for ASEAN TV.
That's it for this edition of ASEAN Highlights. On behalf of the Thai News Agency ASEAN TV news team, I hope you all have a lovely weekend and sawadee khap.